Hello, everyone. I think this should be my first podcast episode. I don't really have much to talk about, but this podcast is pretty much just me talking about anything and everything, and I'm pretty much talking through my cell phone's mic, so you might my voice might come in and out, it might get loud sometimes, it might get quiet, soft, but bear with me. So, have you guys heard about the? I heard about the El Mencho crime. Well, the El Mencho criminal, El Mencho from Mexico, getting killed. Have you guys heard about it? I think it's on the news. This podcast is This episode is Monday. It's been recorded on Monday, February 23rd. I think he died. The El Mencho guy died on February 22nd, just yesterday. And it's kind of, I can't really say it sucks, but I'm not really a fan of murdering. So it's that you guys know, you gotta be careful. Life's not really, you really never know what's gonna happen in life. This is a guy that 2 days ago, 3 days ago, you'd be so afraid of, come to your doorstep, do this, do that. At least most Mexicans, probably some parts of America as well. Because I know these cartels can, there's some cartel syndicates here in the United States that are related to the ones in Mexico. So, but what I'm trying to say is, you really never know what's gonna happen to you. No matter how big you are, no matter what position you are in life, it can all come crashing down in one day, all overnight. And it kind of sucks. That's not how life is. So you gotta be careful. Be happy with what you have. Be happy with with your friends and family. Spend more time with your parents and family. Spend more time with your own people. Do what you love in life. Stop worrying about all the things you haven't done. All the things you really want to do. Stop worrying about what you haven't done. How much you haven't accomplished. How much everyone else has accomplished that you haven't. Stop being jealous about what other people have, because it doesn't really matter. What you have is all that matters. What you already have right now is all that matters. And you can never really be, if you keep worrying about what other people have, you never be happy. Because you can never have enough. There will always be people who have more things than you. Even if you have all the money in the world, guess what? Now you have to be happier. You have all the money in the world, but are you happy? You may have all the money in the world, but just know there's someone in this world that's happier than you. So how can you be happier than the people that are happier than you? Most people will tell you can't. There's you always lack something. That's what I'm trying to say. You will always lack something in life. So trying to worry about what others have, what you lack, it's not really how life works. You are one person. You're not omnipresent. You're not omnipotent. You're just one person. Expecting, just one person to have it all, it's impossible. So you should be happy with what you have. What you have is enough. What others have, don't worry about what others have, because what others have could come crashing down tomorrow. Just like, El Mencho, the drug cartel leader. It could all come crashing down tomorrow. And you don't even know what they have. You may be looking at an illusion. You may think they have a lot of money in their bank accounts. You think they're billionaires and this and that. You don't even know if that money is not even theirs. It's someone else's money that they're holding on to. Some of these drug cartels have people have billionaires as their, what do you call them? Bank, managers, money managers, investors. So you think the money that this guy has, this billionaire has, is his. when you don't even know this guy is just a is working paycheck to paycheck for a billionaire. All that money that's in his, that he owns in the stock market is actually not his. It's actually secretly the money of a drug cartel, of a gang boss somewhere, of some sort of secret kingpin, or gang boss. You don't even know what's gonna happen. And if he pisses them off, he may lose his life any moment. So you really can't tell what's going on behind the scenes. So don't really try to worry about what other people have when you can't tell what's going on behind the scenes. They could be miserable. Do you know how many rich people kill themselves all the like every year? So just because you're rich does not really mean you're happy. Just because you have a lot of friends does not mean you're happy. Just because you have no friends does not mean you're happy. Just because you have, you're always social, hanging out with a bunch of people does not mean you're happy. Just because you're always alone, hanging out by yourself does not mean you're happy. So, never worry about what other people have. Just worry about what you have and be happy with what you have, because that may be all you ever have. Think about it. What you have right now may be all you ever have. You could die tomorrow. You're trying so hard to get what other people have, and you're not even spending that time to enjoy what you have. You have so much already, but yet you're not spending that time to enjoy it. So, and then you die tomorrow. All that time and effort you put it in to get something tomorrow, right? You put in all that time and effort to get something tomorrow, and then you die today. Was it worth it? Obviously not. I'm not telling you, to go YOLO, where, you give up everything and you just start, forgetting about the future, forgetting about, your plans. But what I'm trying to say is, you should probably just appreciate what you have right now. Appreciate what you have while working for something that you want to have tomorrow. Do not be so hung up on, I need to have what I need to have what this guy has. I need to have what this girl has, and forget that. Forget all the things that you have. You you downplay and ignore what you have in favor of what someone else has. If you have a boyfriend, that person has a boyfriend. As a girl, as a lady, you downplay your boyfriend to get that man's to get the other person's boyfriend. If you have a girlfriend, that person has a girlfriend. You downplay your girlfriend to get that person's girlfriend. You work all that time, you spend all that time and effort trying to get the person's girlfriend, and then you end up dying today. Was it worth it? All that time you should have spent with your own family, with your own girlfriend, with your own friends and family. You spend all that time and effort trying to get someone else, and then you die before you get them. If you had spent that time instead, growing your family, spending time with your family, hanging out, going to movies, just hanging out with your family. If you had died, tomorrow, it would have been, it would have been a happy death. You'd have died happily, content. You spent most of your time with the people you loved, but instead you spent all that time and effort stressed out trying to grab something. You spent all that time and effort stressed out trying to grab something, and you end up not getting it. You died before you got it. Was it worth it? Obviously not. You spend so much time trying to get money, trying to be as rich as this person, when the money that you have in your bank account, the money that you get every few days, every week or every 2 weeks from your business or from your work, is more than enough for you to every day or every 2 days go to a park, go to a museum, go to somewhere new, go to a different city, go to somewhere fun, relaxing. It's enough for you to spend time with your family. If it's only $40, $50, just going to the next city is only it's at most like an hour's drive. For most cars, that's like $40, 50 at most. And you just spend that time with your family. You guys just go on a short vacation, or in the next city. You say there's not much to see in the next city. You're wrong. There's a lot to see in the next city. You're downplaying the things you have for the things you don't have. You're looking down on the things you have when you should be looking up to it. The things you have is more valuable because you have them. You can experience them, you can enjoy them every day of your life. It's so easy to have them. It's so easy to see them. No one's holding it from you. No one's gatekeeping it from you. It's yours. It will be yours forever. All these little parks here, in your own city, all the little, what do you call them? Museums, the little, party places. I think there's downtown. There's a lot of places downtown in most cities that, they're actually pretty cool to hang out at. There are bowling alleys. There's so many places you can go within your own city. There's so many hobbies you can learn within your own city. You don't need to be a billionaire to enjoy life like a billionaire. You can go to all these fun places that are in your city right now. You can go to like meetup.com and find so many events that you can attend. So many events. Many of them are free that you can attend. You don't have to go. You don't need $1 billion to travel to. You don't need $1,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 to travel to Miami, or travel to, what do you call that, a different country. Just call it a vacation. If you go to a different country, you may not be able to speak the language. It may be stressful. You could be stressed out, and you could even die there. You wasted all that time to be kidnapped by some terrorists, or by some drug lord, or some gangs. So you wasted all that time and effort just to be kidnapped and killed in a foreign country. That would suck, wouldn't it? And those things happen. It happens to foreigners a lot. Foreigners in other countries are not as safe as the people that are that live there. So that's something you have to worry about. When you travel, when you're out traveling, is that you're not as safe as the people that live there. The people that live there get just like Americans. Americans treat Americans better than they treat foreigners, and that's how it is in other countries. If you go to another country, the people there treat each other better than they'll treat you. Whether they think that, whether you think they like you or not, that's just how it is. It's just, there's a bias. There's a bias against foreigners in every country. So you just have to be careful when you go to different countries. So, but if you're going around, your cities, just explore every. I've spent years exploring the cities around Michigan, and I have to tell you, there's so many places to see, so many cool places here in Michigan. There's so many, even the small cities have some of the most beautiful views you can ever see. So you don't have to rush, and you don't have to be, you don't have to have all the money in the world. You don't have to have all the things in the world, all the good things in the world to enjoy life. The things that you have right now may be way better than the things you think you're trying to get. But you don't know that because you're looking down on the things you have in favor of the things you don't have. When the things you don't have may not be as good as you think they are, The grass is not always greener on the other side, So that's one of the things you have to be careful of, is the grass is not always greener. It looks greener, but it's not. It's just an illusion. What you don't have is just an illusion. It may not be better than what you have right now. So instead of downplaying and looking down on what you don't have, enjoy what you have. Instead of looking down on what you have, enjoy what you have while you're working for what you don't have. Do not think that what you have is worthless. Think the opposite. What you have is great. What you don't have is also great. So while you're working for what you don't have, appreciate and spend time with what you have. Enjoy what you have. That way, when you die tomorrow, you didn't lose much. You didn't lose much because you have everything. You've had everything you wanted. You didn't lose much because you've experienced everything you wanted to experience. So when you die, there's not much. There's no fear of death. You don't feel like someone stole your life away from you. All the good things in life were taken from you, were locked away from you. You won't feel stressed about it. On your dying breath, you'll feel relaxed, at ease, and happy. But when you look down on what you have, how that's it's a tragedy to die when you're rushing so you're working so hard to get something tomorrow, right? You're miserable because you don't like what you have. You're looking down on what you have. So you're obviously not going to be happy when you look down on everything that you have. You look at it, all the good things that you have in life. You're looking at it and you think it's worthless, right? Because you think it's worthless, now you're depressed. That depression causes anxiety. It causes you stress, and it forces you to work harder and harder and harder for the things you want. And you work, which that causes you to work harder and harder for the things you want. And after working so hard for so many months or for so many years, you end up dying before you get it. Doesn't that suck? You work so hard, your entire life, and then you die before you accomplish what you want. Doesn't that suck? So instead of, working hard, you know, forsaking your happiness for the future, enjoy what you have now, right? And then slowly work for whatever you want in the future. As long as you're enjoying what you have now, you won't be as stressed for for the future. You won't be as stressed to get that car. You won't be as stressed to get that, $1 million in your bank account. Things will be a lot slower. It may happen faster because you're happier. Happy people tend to work, harder, better, faster than everyone else. So your happiness may even make it easier for you to get what you want. So you enjoying what you have makes it easier to get what you want in the future. You not enjoying what you have puts you in a stressed out, depressed mood, which makes you anxious, and anxious people rarely ever make, good decisions in life. When you're so anxious, it's hard to think clearly when you're anxious and depressed, So that will make it easier for you to make mistakes that'll cost you, your chances of getting what you want. So everything just boils down to just being patient and just enjoying what you have in life. When you enjoy what you have in life, you don't downplay it, you don't look down on it, you don't think it's garbage, you don't think the people around you are garbage, they're trash. You don't think the money you have, the amount of money you make is worthless because you're not making $1 million a year, or you're not making $10,000 a year, or $50,000 a year, or $100,000 a year. Just because you're not making that, the amount of money you make is worthless. Don't think that, appreciate the amount of money you make, even if it's zero. Appreciate it and just move on with your life because no one knows tomorrow. The money you may end up getting that money and realize you wasted all that time when that money didn't make you happier. You spent all that time and effort only to end up realizing you're still at the same place that you left. You rushed and rushed and rushed, forced yourself to a position that you didn't want to begin with, That happens a lot. There's a lot of people who stress themselves out, work their entire lives only to realize the thing they worked their entire lives for isn't what they wanted. They wasted all that time and effort just to grab thin air. They wasted all their lives just to get nothing. If they had just stayed where they were before and just enjoyed their lives, and slowly work their way up, they would have been much more happier, and their lives would have been, much more enjoyable. So you have to be cautious. The thing you're chasing after so badly, the thing you're so jealous of that other people have that you don't have, when you end up getting it, it may not be what you want. Are you even sure that's what you want? There's a high chance it's not what you want. So think things through, What you want may be what you already have. You may not even think about it. But what you want may be already within your reach. It may be just traveling to a different city. That may be what you want. Maybe all you want is just travel. If all you want is just to travel, you can travel to your city every weekend. Travel to a different city every weekend. It's not that hard. Visit a different, restaurant every weekend. Just make that habit of visiting a different restaurant. Just trying new places, to eat. Most places only cost the foods only cost like $10 to $20. At most $20. Some is even less than that. Places like McDonald's, like $1, $2, $3, $4. But some places, regular restaurants, like $10 to $20. That's all it costs. If you want to travel, you want to try new things. You don't need millions of dollars to try new things. You don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars to try new things. There's so many restaurants around your own city has so many restaurants. And then you have the cities around you. So many restaurants that's not McDonald's, that's not Burger King. There's so many family restaurants. There's so many Asian restaurants. Each Asian restaurant is completely different. They all serve different foods. Although some of the menus may be the same, many of them are many of them are different. There's Thai restaurants. There's so many places you can go. There are museums. There are parks, and there are many other outdoor places you can enjoy. I don't really go to that many places. I hate going to crowded places. So if you like more crowded places, places like Zap Zone and all these VR places. I haven't been to a VR place, but I think that would be probably a cool place to go. So there's so many places in your city you can go to. So many things you can try. You don't need to you don't need to have $100,000 in your bank account. If traveling is what you want to do, you can travel all over your city, and you still have more places to go to before the end of the year, or by the end of the year. So don't let money become your crush. Don't think that money you need hundreds of thousands of dollars to be a traveler. You don't. You can still work a 9 to 5. I used to do it. I used to work 9 to 5 like 3 years ago, and I still travel. I still spent. There was one time when I had to work. I worked midnight from like 12, something from like I think like 1 p.m. or was it 3 p.m. or something like that. So 12 a.m. at night, and then around 7 a.m. I woke up, and then no, around 5 a.m. that very night I drove all the way from Michigan to Tennessee for like seven. It was like a 7 hour, almost an 8 hour drive, just to check out Tennessee, and I came back home, and still had to work that same day. So instead of going to sleep, so if you want to travel like me, there's really nothing stopping you. You can still travel, even while having a 9 to 5. And mine wasn't even a 9 to 5; it was like a 9 to 7 because I worked all 7 days. Because we had overtimes doing Saturdays and Sundays. But yeah, if you really want to travel, there's nothing stopping you. There's really nothing stopping you. You should appreciate what you have instead of trying to reach for what someone else has. Because what someone else has may not be what you really want. If what you want is a family, you can start a family. There are many dating sites around here. If you're not comfortable dating online, go to a lot of meetup events. There's a lot of meetup events. There's a lot of regular events. Just on Facebook, there are many Facebook groups that show you like the events in your city, the events in your state, and then the events in other states. So you can go to any these Facebook events, these city events. There's so many events you can that happens during in each city that you can go to, and look for someone there. Start talking to people. You might find yourself someone that you actually you like. Don't just sit down and expect your friend or your future spouse to come to your doorstep. If you want a future spouse, you have to go look for them, and it takes time, and it's not that hard. If be happy with what you have. The people around your city, you don't have to have the perfect girlfriend. You may end up finding them if you actually look for it. Or the perfect spouse. You just go to your city and just go to these events and just look for someone to spend time with. You may find many friends, and just enjoy what you have with you. Stop reaching. I'm not saying stop reaching for more, but don't think the things you don't have are more important than the things you have. The things you have are more important than the things you don't have. So while you're going for the things you don't have, more money, a better, a happier family, things like that. Enjoy what you have right now, instead of stressing over what you don't have, completely downplaying what you have right now. What you have right now is very important as well, because what you have right now is how you're gonna get to where what you don't have. You're using the resources of what you have right now to get to where you don't, what you don't have. So if you don't manage those resources well, you're not going to get where what you don't have that easily. You have to manage the resources very well, to get there. You have to appreciate what you have and use it properly in order to help you get to where you don't, what you don't have. So I've been talking for a while now, about 25 minutes. So I think I'll wrap it up for this podcast. But yeah, be grateful for what you have and just let life be. No, nobody knows tomorrow. It's better to be, to die knowing you enjoyed every single part of your life. You used everything you have to the fullest. Everything in your life, you used it to the fullest. You drained every juice from it. Everything you have right now in your life, instead of ignoring everything that you have right now in your life, cherish it, right? Cherish it and drain every ounce of juice from it. That way, when you do die, you know you didn't waste any of your resources. You used every of your resources. You enjoyed every person in your life. You enjoyed everything in your life to the fullest. You enjoyed everything to the fullest before you died. And you will die content and happy, no matter when you die. You don't have to, you won't feel stressed that you died early. You won't feel stressed that you died way too early, like in your 30s, in your 20s, because although you only lived that short life, you lived it doing everything you loved. You enjoyed every second of it. So, but that's it. That's it for this podcast. It's 20 minutes now, so I'll catch you guys on the next one. Enjoy your day. Have fun. See ya.